Oshinaye of the Action Aid. He's right here with me in the AIT studios here in Abuja. Newton, welcome to the AIT Town Hall.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
Well, it is a pleasure to also welcome to the Town Hall Folusho Phillips. He's a founder and executive chairman, Phillips Consulting, now PCL. Mr. Phillips, welcome to the AIT Town Hall.
Thank you very much.
Let's welcome Valentine OZIGBO, also banker and former group managing director of Transcorp Nigeria PLC. Mr. OZIGBO, welcome to the AIT Town Hall.
My pleasure. Good morning.
It is also my pleasure to welcome Niyi Yusuf, who is a managing partner, Veraki Partners, a business consulting and technology solutions firm. Welcome to the AIT Town Hall.
Thank you, and good morning.
Great. Also, welcoming to the Town Hall is Dr. Magnus Onyibe. He is a development strategist and an economist. Good to have you here with us.
Good morning and welcome. I'm not doctor yet.
We're looking forward to that soon.
Thank you.
Let me also welcome Otuya Akoboma, a.k.a. Alibaba, who is also the chairman of the Ministerial Committee on the Impact of COVID-19 on the entertainment industry. I understand he's about to join us in a moment, probably technical issues. So welcome everyone. Remember, this is a simulcast running on the AIT network and Raypower FM networks. You can also follow the conversation on all our online platforms, and it is at official Ait.Live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can tweet at us using the hashtag AITTHFfinale. The AIT Town Hall is fully supported by our partner, Osiwa Nigeria. The Town Hall commences immediately when we return after this break. Just made some very interesting point there. This is not a one-size-fits-all problem. It has to be tackled with their peculiarities in different sectors of the Nigerian economy and the social life. Let's take it from the point of view of the financial sector, for instance. What kind of challenges do you find the financial sector suffering at this time, and what are the potentials for recovery?
Thank you, Tibe. And yes, I actually completely agree with my boss, Folusho. The impact of this has to be very well segmented and totally dimensioned. And I will speak generally from across sectors that I feel are highly, highly impacted. And I think that there's a lot we need to do as a country, not just to react to the whole impact of the pandemic, but to strategically prepare us to ensure that we are not caught unawares going further. And I'm hoping we will touch on this in greater detail. For the financial services companies and cutting across the banks, the insurance, and what have you, you find that a lot of them are still able to thrive, especially given the fact that you will see money still deposited. Businesses also, some sectors of the economy, like the technology, like telco, who are surviving. You see focus shifting there. Also agriculture, that people are still going to find food to eat. And so some of those sectors that will thrive, you see a lot of the financial services companies shifting in that direction. But let's not remove the fact that a lot of companies are going to have serious issues. Some actually going to potentially even die. And especially when you talk about airlines and hospitality and co. If nothing is done by way of stimulus to help to keep them alive, and if they on their own are not able to cut waste and see how they can streamline their processes and get more efficient and survive the quagmire, they're going to suffer. And so imagine if those customers, borrowing customers, obligors of financial institutions, it means that those debts are already bad. And you know what that means. When banks also begin to make provisions for bad and doubtful debts, that will tell on their strength. And so you may see what I call catalytic impact of this going down the entire system. And then let's go back to the other sectors of the economy. And I've emphasized any sector that has to do with social gathering, social cohesion. where we need to all meet together to survive, like travel, especially entertainment. These are hugely affected, and it calls for a lot of ingenuity and creativity for people in that space to be able to survive and thrive. And unfortunately, for me, I consider those the most critical because they employ the greatest of our labor. Today, if you're talking about the youths, you can remove entertainment, and entertainment is actually about coming together. I've seen a lot of creativity in journey. People still carry on, but we know life is not normal. So there's a lot we need to do to look at the specifics of these sectors and see how we can keep them alive, because they are crucial in tackling other social issues that we're going to be facing. I feel that, and as we even talk about these sectors, let's bring it home again to what Felicia said, personalizing this. So if you also come to Nigeria, you need to segment the people who are poor. How do we provide food for them? How do we quench hunger? How do we make sure there's nobody dying of starvation? And so also when you move to the next level, you find that a lot of people who actually used to be, I call them givers, have become beggars. You get shocked when you see people who actually were gainfully employed sending you a message saying, please, can you send me, there's no rice in my house and all of that. So you would have thought that these are the people that will help and join hands and show love and generosity to other people. So there's a lot that has happened that we're yet to even fathom. And for me, my greatest, regret is how I wish we were prepared for this. How I wish we had restructured Nigeria for better competitiveness. How I wish we had cut our waste and cost of governance and become more efficient. How I wish we had prioritized key sectors of the economy, power, infrastructure, agriculture, and telco, and gotten ready where we can actually now take advantage of this pandemic. Because I must tell you, this is actually can be a blessing if we use it right, if we adopt the right approaches, because what we've seen is that what we are talking about here is also affecting the rest of the world. It doesn't matter how big you are. In fact, the bigger you are, the bigger the impact. So if all of these other countries have been slowed down, it is actually like a way of saying to Nigeria, okay, we've slowed other countries down, so you need to catch up now. And there's one thing we need to do, which is to leverage on technology, which has become a leveler. If anybody can do the right thing, you can actually catch up with the rest of the world. And this is where our mind should be focused.
Thank you very much, OZIGBO. I'll come back to you later. I'll move further to Niyi Yusuf. The Nigerian government, the president in particular, sent a request to the National Assembly yesterday for a $5.5 billion foreign loan request. It puts us in a situation where some are saying, do we risk spending our way out of the problem rather than look at targeted interventions? Primary driver for growth, which it has been doing. He talked about the state government and the national level running at cross purposes. They meet every other Thursday at the National Economic Council meeting. I do not know what kind of discussion, whether it really trickles down to a national agenda based on a philosophy which all the states' governments have adopted in line with the federal government. But how could it actually be made better, what we are looking at now, compared to what other countries have done? The Singapore, which remains a classical example for everybody, China as well, and other countries who have been successful in picking out a philosophy, pursuing it very passionately, and achieving results.
Thank you, Tiber. And I have to thank Philip so dearly for the points he made. And as he was talking, I saw somebody who actually tried to encapsulate everything we talk about when we talk about resetting Nigeria for good. People use all manner of terms to describe this. We talk about restructuring Nigeria. But, in one of my recent interviews on AIT, I used the word value engineer Nigeria. And this is so important. And actually, before I go into this, I don't want us to leave this town hall meeting without underscoring the level, the depth, the weight of the problem that we are talking about. I believe one of my speakers, our speakers here, did mention that we've had problems, but we've never had problems in this magnitude before. We are talking about a perfect storm. We are talking about where you have, volatility with uncertainty, with complexity, with ambiguity together. And in an era where that product we used to depend on is vanishing, and in an era where we're combining with health crisis, and in an era where we're actually having a loss of confidence, even across leadership, from federal to state to local, we are so ill prepared for this. And this is one shock that has come in. And I'm hoping that that shock can drive sense into us. Sense is into agreeing what should be our national philosophy, which is what you're talking about. And we have to be able to define simple. This is where we are today. Do we actually know where we are? And there's a lot of issues we've spoken about: population issues, data issues, lack of many things. So I won't waste time talking about those. Now, where do we want to go to? Where do we want to be? Who do we want to be for Nigerians and for the international community? Let's define that. And this is why I had said again in future previous interviews I've done before, where I said, as we are setting up committees to deal with palliatives and symptoms, where is the committee that's dealing with the strategic intervention? I mean, who are we even talking to? This town hall, who is listening to us? What are they going to do about it? The idea is we need to set up a set of people that will be focusing on post-COVID COVID pandemic Nigeria, where we are dealing with the issues that are strategic. And this is where, Folusho is of Nigerian Economic Summit Group, a body we all are members of. And challenge that group, for instance, to come up with what we should do post-COVID. And we're able to define these, issues. How do we prioritize the human, development index? How do we deal with issues of infrastructure? What should be the role of government? What should be the role of private sector? And what is it that the government needs to do for private sector to be able to play their own role? And how do we ensure we cut the waste in governance? It's enormous. And why don't we even take some drastic actions? And I said it before, do we actually need Senate and House of Reps? Can we collapse? Can we do away with subsidy? And now we're dealing with price of oil at the bears. How do we even refine our own product and forget about this export? Let's deal with our own internal issues and fix our problem. And so if you're talking about other sectors like agriculture, I mean, I also love how Imam Ni Yusuf has also articulated the solutions. But we need to set up an intervention mechanism. We need to agree who is doing this. Are we allowing the National Planning Commission to handle this, or should they work with the private sector, especially in the NESG, to come up with solutions that we can go to work from Monday, like Phillips has said? This is so crucial. And so talking about these little snippets, I'm looking for how can we fix Nigeria? We need to, and again, a lot has been said about digital infrastructure. We are moving into a globalized world where knowledge is the only option. There's not even all these commodity issues. We do that to feed yourself. But if you really want to be competitive, digital is the way to go. And so, and for corporates, what are they doing? You see corporates, which is why it's important to always have this private sector background. What we do in private sector is actually look at your staff strength. If you're moving from this point A to point B, do you have the right skill sets to be able to take you to that level? If you don't, then you have to make some changes. It means that if you require certain, strengths, skills, problem-solving skills, strategic foresights, critical solutions, people who can undertake what we call, lean environment, processes improvement. If this is kind of skill you're looking for, this is what you actually get, and make some changes and reinforce your team. Now, let's talk about governance. If we're moving Nigeria to a digitalized world, who do we have in government? How digital are they? Our governors, our presidents, our chief of staff, and we have to begin to think from that perspective. We need to move Nigeria to where Technology is not just an enabler, it's a way of life, and it becomes an opportunity. So that when we are dealing with other solutions, issues, other problems, we are actually intervening in a very competitive manner. Technology helps to reduce costs. We can actually undertake our census today. Now that we're all at home, if you have the right technology, we can know how many we are, very simply. We can handle the next election. Let's cut that INEC budget to 10% of it, and we can get it done. If you get smart Nigerians to devote themselves, and they can come up with smart solutions, and we can get it done. Let's find homegrown solutions for our homegrown problems. Nigeria, we are bedeviled a lot, but we can figure out the solutions if only we are committed to it. And let's find the right set of people with the right skill set, the competencies and capabilities, so we can solve our problems for good. Thank you.
Great. Newton, let me come back to you. Thank you very much for your patience. Indeed. Do you think the government and especially the private sector are on the same track? What I mean is the economy is shrinking, profit is thinning, recession is a looming reality. Businesses in the private sectors are thinking downsizing because probably they have smart solutions that will replace human beings with technology. But the government is saying, do not downsize. Is the government and the private sector are on the same path as far as post-COVID is concerned?
I think it's very difficult to say whether they are on the same page because right now it assumes, it appears government is working in silos and the private sector is also doing the same thing. I want to also submit here that the way forward is there must be a co-creation of the solutions that will deal with our problems. Until we have that, like you said, that philosophy of co-creating the solutions.
Thoughts there, very, very insightful indeed. But let me go to Mr. Val OZIGBO, your final comment.
Let me just say, whether you stay at home or you're out there, remain productive. And let's be smart, let's be wise. This is a problem. It's important we acknowledge the severity of the problem and also understand that there could be solutions. Solutions personally, state level and federal level. State level, conserve, invest, and save smartly. This is not a time to waste. Do not waste any time and any money. Same for states and same for federal. Let's figure out how to cut some waste. And more importantly, there are roles that private sector can help and there are roles government will need to. Both will need to come together and synergize. Let's find an integrated solution that can get us out of this quagmire. And it's important to emphasize the need for this synergy because working in silos won't help us. And ultimately, it depends on how well you conduct yourself. There will be winners and there will be losers. And for me, I am cautiously optimistic and I want to be on the winning side. So be you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ali Baba, how optimistic are you?
I think things will get a bit would slow down totally. So I think that we should begin to look at cutting cost of governance. We should begin to develop IGR. If you look at it, if oil becomes zero, like Oga Folushaw Phillips has said, there are a lot of states that will not be able to take care of themselves. In fact, Lagos can survive, Ogun can survive, Rivers can survive, but there are certain states that would not make it. And within this time, I also suggest that we seize the opportunity and do our census. We seize the opportunity and do our census, use the platforms and the structure that INEC has, work with the population census board and come up with something. Public awareness is important. The public awareness is important because a lot of people are not informed and they need to be informed. Our infrastructural deficit is one of the things that is affecting us right now. We need, and not too long ago, you heard about the security issues. what is causing security challenges is now we've forgotten about desertification. That is what is causing migration to the south. People are not, the groundnut pyramids you used to see were happening in the north because of the agricultural potentials of the north.
All right.
And that has also been taken. And then our education is in shambles. If you don't educate the people, they will not understand what you're saying.
Pointers taken. Thank you so much. Priorities, hopefully, that the authorities can take a look at. Dr. Imam, very few seconds, 30 seconds. What are your final thoughts? Are you also quite optimistic or you're pessimistic?
Of course, I'm one of the unrepentant optimists of the human nature. Like I said in the beginning, we've been faced with a lot of challenges and crises, and we have been able to overcome them as a result of our collective resilience. And the same goes for COVID-19 as well. COVID-19 is a situation where we found ourselves in a fight between trying to save lives and, of course, protecting livelihood. This is the dilemma in which we have found ourselves today. And of course, it is very imperative, like we have mentioned from the beginning and all have alluded to, that government needs to take the lead. There's the need for government to show political will. We need to begin to understand that there's a deficit in infrastructure, which is development, there's a deficit in governance, and there's a deficit in peace. And so government needs to begin to prioritize and look at core areas where it should invest into. Look at your population. You see, the people are the biggest asset you have. You have to understand, of course, do a SWOT analysis and understand where your strength lies. You have to look at your economy, look at the skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled population, catalog them, and tap out of the potentials that these different groups have. And I hope that the post-COVID-19 international era will be one that will be positive.
Great. Newton Ashimai, I'm sure you're very concerned about the vulnerable section of the economy.
Absolutely.
Quick thoughts.
So my quick thought, like I said before, is that government should just look at how we can co-create our solutions internally without running helter-skelter. And if we have such an organic solution, it will help us as Nigerians. And the ownership also will make us participate more effectively.
Thank you so much. Newton Ashimaya, ace of the Action Aid Nigeria. Dr. Mukhtar Imam is an economist here in the Nigerian capital city and also a lecturer with the Bayes University. To our panelists who joined us virtually, Mr. Folusho Phillips, founder and executive chairman of Phillips Consulting, now PCL. Thank you so much for a very in-depth and insightful contribution to this town hall. Valentine OZIGBO, banker and former group managing director of Transcorp Hilton and Transcorp Nigeria PLC. Very, very delightful having you on the town hall. Mr. Niyi Yusuf, who was the managing partner of Veraki Partners, joined us earlier, but he had to leave earlier as well. I want to say thank you so much, wherever you are, for your thoughts on this program. Mr. Magnus Oyibe is a development strategist and an economist, a very optimistic economist. I want to say thank you so much, too, for your thoughts on the show. And also Otunyota Apobame, a.k.a. Ali Baba, chairman of the Ministerial Committee on the Impact of COVID-19 on the entertainment and media industry. Fantastic contributions you made, and we look forward to see the outcome of your committee and the report as will be submitted to the government. That's it on this first segment of our program, COVID-19 edition of the Ait.Live Town Hall. Thank you so much for all the contributions that came in on our social media platform, our social media audience, online audience. We very much appreciate it. We told you earlier, this is the first session of the program. The second session comes up in a moment, and the focus will be hardcore economics. Nancy Naji is on standby to take over from me, and do stay with us as that segment commences